Hey there, Internet people. Welcome back to Greenwing Gaming. You know the drill, it's Friday, so it's time for another Let's Play, and today we are playing through Mission 3, Scenario 3 of Rangers of Shadowdeep. This is the last scenario in the core rulebook missions, and so we finally managed to plow our way through it. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are as well. If you haven't seen the previous Rangers of Shadowdeep missions, I would heavily recommend going back and giving those of you, because in these later missions, I'm not going to be going over too much of how the game works, nor am I really going to be explaining context for people who didn't watch the previous episodes. So, if you want to keep watching without the context, that's great. You're more than welcome. Just giving you a quick heads up. But the last scenario was it went a little rougher than the first scenario. Scenario 2 kind of rang our bell a little bit. About half the team got removed from play. We ended up struggling our way through a swamp trying to map out the region and as a form of recon in the shadowy depths of the Shadowdeep itself. But in this mission, our team has pressed on into the depths of the Shadowdeep, into the far reaches of what used to be Lorenthia. And this mission is rather ominously titled The Last Stand, so you guys will get to see what that means in just a quick second. But before we jump into all that, I just want to do a quick reminder that this YouTube channel is pretty young. At the time of recording here, about 2 months in. And, you know, so at this point, any amount of engagement from you guys is a huge help. You've already done me a big favor just by clicking on the video, but I'm hoping that the kind, generous, and, dare I say, attractive strangers on the internet would be willing to do me another one by maybe hitting the like button, subscribing if you'd like to see more of this content. We do more Let's Plays like this every Friday, and we have hobby discussion videos every Monday. But with all of that self-promotion stuff out of the way, we're playing Rangers of Shadowdeep, so let's just get into it. Alright guys, here we are looking at the rule book pages for the Scenario 3, The Last Stand. Where our team last left off, they had just crossed a dark and dangerous swampland in their continued reconnaissance of the region. And just to give you guys a quick look at the map, this is the the scenario map telling us how we're supposed to set things up. The game calls to be played on a 30-inch by 30-inch table, and at the center of that table, we're supposed to set up a kind of ruined house where it's supposed to have 2 rooms, a 6x6 and a 6x8. Now, if we pan up to the table, you'll see that's what we have exactly set up here. I used a couple pieces from a modular dungeon set meant for Dungeons and Dragons that has set up our 2 rooms here. We have our merry band of heroes parked outside the front door because the scenario does dictate our heroes are supposed to be within 6 inches of the front door of the building. Inside we have a trio of Lorenthian soldiers, 2 archers, and a Lorenthian man-at-arms protecting 4 civilians. Now, just to give you guys some context for the mission, we are going to go ahead and read the lore section, because I've kicked off all the other missions that way now. Why not this one? So, Scenario 3, The Last Stand. Having pushed through the swamp, the land becomes firmer and gnarled trees less dense. The rolling black clouds above still cast everything in perpetual twilight, and ash and smoke still drifts in the air. For the most part, the land is quiet. No birds sing, no insects call out. Occasionally, a small animal twitters from the shadows, or scampers through the dead leaves. Twice you have spotted small patrols composed of gnolls and masked men, but both times you have been able to find cover and remain undetected. With few indications of the passage of time, you are forced to rely on your reckoning and the growl of your stomach to know when to call halts, rest, and eat. You have passed several streams which seem to contain fresh water, though you remain wary of drinking from them. Just as your companions are starting to tire and you are considering calling a halt for sleep, you spy a broken structure in the gloom ahead. Crawling forwards, you see that it is a partially collapsed stone farmhouse, of a kind that is common in both Alador and Lorenthia. Creeping closer, you see the shifting shadows within, and closer still, you hear whispered voices. There are several people inside, definitely humans, As you focus on the speech, you begin to pick up the lilting accent of Lorenthia, and although the words are still obscure, you can hear the undercurrent of fear. Making up your mind, you call out softly to the house, "Lorenthia." The voices go silent, but you hear a shuffling inside. You call out again, "Lorenthia." A moment of silence, and then a reply comes from within. "Friends." Standing up and with your hands open before you, you walk slowly towards the door of the house. A man is standing there in the tattered remains of a Lorenthian uniform, a battered and notched sword in his hand. "We are friends, from Alador, you say." The man lowers his sword and grunts. "We'll take friends from anywhere." Inside the broken house, you see several more soldiers as well as a group of women and children. The man in the tattered uniform speaks again. "I don't know how long it has been since the world ended, but for all I knew, we were the only survivors. There are things out there, gnolls and worse, hunting us." "Lorenthia is destroyed," you reply, "but the world endures. Alador still stands, and we can take you there." But even as you say the last word, a horn sounds in the distant gloom, and your companions come running. Everyone draws their weapons and prepares to face the onslaught. So there you have it. The context of this mission is we were about to rescue some innocent Lorenthians, and that's when the forces of the Shadowdeep showed up. So we are fighting a desperate last stand in this kind of L-shaped farmhouse surrounded by just scattered debris. And the general rule for this is that the game will last a full 12 turns, assuming that my heroes can last that long. And every turn we are going to be turning over an event card, which will summon more monsters onto the table. Now, if you look at the table as it stands right now, you might notice that my band of heroes, minus Thaddeus the Crow, because he was taken out of action last game and has to sit this one out, because he's feeling a little sick. But minus our companions and the Lorenthian civilians and soldiers, there's nothing on the table yet, because the rules for this scenario dictate that we have to turn over 3 event cards before we even start the game, and those 3 event cards are going to populate the board with our first wave of enemies. And then following that, at the end of every turn, we will draw another card, which will bring more enemies. And the whole point of this is that my small band of heroes has to last against the unending waves of the Shadowdeep. And only if we can outlast the 12 waves can we possibly find a break in the tide of enemies to escape back to Alador. But with all that being said, I'm gonna... actually, there's a couple things that we can do before we start setting stuff up. Let's see, the special rules. So first we have to make a traps roll with a target number of 6 to see if we can set up some free traps that might give us some help. So we're gonna do this with our ranger because he has traps +3. So we're just gonna make this roll. So we need to roll a 3 or better to get this. And we crank a 14, so even if he was traps 0, he successfully prepared the traps. So our heroes have successfully laid some traps on the ground as they're fleeing to the building to try and slow down the enemy. So I'll show you guys that when we set up for turn 1. And the only other thing is that we need to make a leadership roll, because over here, our Lorenthian soldier... You can't really see that well inside the building, so we're just going to move this model out a little bit so you guys can take a look at it. This is a kind of random D&D model I picked up at my local comic book store, who will be serving as our Lorenthian soldier today. A bit of a samurai vibe to this model, but we have to pass a leadership 12 check to see if this is if we fail, this Lorenthian man-at-arms is just a man-at-arms. But if we pass our leadership check, this becomes a Lorenthian knight who has noticeably better stats. So we're looking for a 12, but again, our ranger has leadership 5, so really we're looking for a 7. Oh, not quite. We only get a 6. So a Lorenthian man-at-arms, this figure stays. Oh well, we could have used the help. But with that all being said, guys, we have covered all of the setup for this scenario. The only other thing is that we are, as usual, playing on a map from Table War. And unfortunately, I'm sorry to say that most of the terrain on here, I have no idea where I got it from. The ruins here, the trees, these are all stuff I found on Etsy, so is the hill. But this tent, as well as all the scatter terrain you see in here, the walls, the fences, the stall, literally everything you see inside here came from a terrain crate from Mantic Games. They have a website you guys can check out. It's just manticgames.com. This little ruin over in the corner was brought to us by, GameMat.eu, and they're absolutely fantastic pre-painted fantasy terrain. So if you want to check them out, you absolutely should. They have a wonderful selection of both fantasy and sci-fi terrain, so they can be a great resource. But I do believe we have now covered everything, and I will quit jawing your ears off and just get into turn 1. Alright guys, here we are at the start of turn 1. We've drawn the cards that are gonna populate the map, and the deck was not kind to me. We have a venomous spider crawling in through the smaller room inside the house. We've had a giant burrow worm burst into the larger room of the house. We already have 2 enemies inside the house looking to chow down on the civilians we're supposed to be protecting. And then on top of all that, we have a trio of zombies who are shuffling on the board. Now, the zombies are not going to be a problem anytime soon. They move a total of 6 inches, and that's with a double move. So I've probably got like 3 turns before they become a thing. But I do have to deal with that burrow worm. That is actually a huge problem. Let's zoom in on that guy a little bit. Yeah, he's a huge issue. He's got a pretty solid fight +4, to say nothing of the fact that he is currently standing in the middle of the room right next to all of my civilians, and all of my heroes are far away from him. But with all that out of the way, we are in the ranger phase, so we're going to start off group activating with Tywin. He's going to group activate with Archibald and Bryn, because I need my ranged guys to bring this sucker down. And we're going to start off activating with... We're actually going to have Bryn first. He's just going to use his line of sight through the door. He's going to be giving heavy cover to the... yeah, actually, never mind. We're going to change that around, because he's going to be giving heavy cover to that burrow worm. So instead, we're going to start off with Archie, or Archibald, rather, who's just going to turn and face, and he's going to let off his magic bolt. We're just not even going to be playing around with this guy. We're going to start off throwing down a magic bolt, which, if any of you guys remember from the Tor of Ardennes fiasco, was it's a +4 shooting attack against this creature's... Oh, let me make sure I've got this right. Oh, it's only got a fight of +3, so shoot +4 against fight of +3, so Archibald's going to see if he can't crank this right off the bat. Oh. Sorry, guys. Still getting used to this longer lens. So Archibald has cranked a 14 to the burrow worms. Oh. Let's see if we can't get that. That's a 9, for those of you who can't quite tell. Yeah, that is a 9. So the burrow worm has rolled a total of a 12, while Archibald has rolled a total of an 18. So the burrow worm has an armor of 10. So he only takes 8 points of damage, but that does take him instantly down to 6 wounds. So that spell did more or less work how I was hoping, because this guy is a big threat, and I was really hoping that spell would do exactly what it did, which is knock him down a peg. Now, if you'll excuse me one moment while I rearrange the terrain I just destroyed. So that's Archie done. That is Archibald done for his first activation. Oh, I think we're gonna... Yeah, we're going to go ahead and send Tywin in. I'm hesitant to do it just because there is more coming. But 7 inches, his 7-inch move does get him all the way through here and into base we're actually just going to leave him just out of base contact of the enemy, just so that Bryn can have a decent shot at shooting him. So Bryn is going to move forward into the doorway with his first action. And then Bryn's second action is going to be to dial up a shot on the worm. Now, he is going to be taking a -1 to his shooting for moving, but it's better than the -2 he would have taken for giving it heavy cover. So, a little bit of tactics here on this channel. It's not exactly what I'm known for, but hey, we can try everything once. So his shooting is effectively only going to be a shoot +1 to the burrow worm's fight +3. So I don't have high hopes for this. And my hopes are validated. Because to be fair, Bryn did actually roll pretty well. He rolled a 17, but the burrow worm rolled a natural 20. So his shot just bounces off. And he's going to be reloading next turn. So then Tywin's next move is just going to be to take a second action to, well, actually Tywin's not going to move into base contact just because there's not really much point, but he is going to use up his throwing knife. So this will be effective, because of the -1 he takes for moving first, this will effectively be a shoot +0 against fight +3, but maybe he can do some damage. No, not so much. Tywin rolls, let's see if we can't get that into frame. That's a 3 becomes a 3. And the burrow worm has rolled another 9, which becomes a 12. So after a dazzlingly successful bolt of magic flies and just blowing chunks out of this burrow worm, Bryn steps into the door and lets off with a flintlock musket, deafening everyone inside and missing spectacularly, while Tywin chucks a knife that just bounces off the burrow worm's hide. Not the most successful ranger phase, but oh well. We now go into the creature phase, but fortunately, because Tywin has made himself the closest figure, this creature is just going to pop into base contact. Now, this creature is kind of massive, so I'm just going to have to beg you guys' forgiveness on this this looking a little weird. So the creature is now going to make its attack against Tywin. So that's going to be a fight +3 against his fight +4. So oddly enough, this actually kind of plays into Tywin's strength. So let's see if we can't crank out a victory here. Okay, it's not bad. Tywin has rolled himself a 14. The monster has made a terrible mistake and rolled a natural 1. I think the monster is rearing up in arrogance to bite down on his head, and Tywin lashes out, thrusting his sword deep into its guts. With his 14, that becomes an 18, which was, as we've already discussed before, it equals 8 points of damage. This creature only has 6 wounds left, so much to my surprise and joy, this monster goes bye-bye. I've played this scenario before with some friends, and that is not how that went. That burrow worm has in the past decimated whole parties, so I got very lucky there. But we now have a spider coming in because he's over here, and unfortunately, he's going to be able to make it right into one of our civilians. We're just going to move him right up to the door just to avoid crowding the table too much. And, yeah, we're just going to crank up a fight +0 against fight +0. The green dice is going to, as usual, be our good guys. Okay, so our good guy has rolled an 8 to the spider's 4. That actually ends up doing, if I'm not mistaken... Oh, no, it's exactly enough to do no damage. He has an armor of 8. So the spider just gets knocked back by our civilian. And that's the end of his activation. And then these zombies are just... Sorry about that, guys. Battery cut out on me there. But as I was saying, the zombies over here are just going to be making their quick shuffle up the board. Let's see if we can't zoom out a little bit. Sorry. Battery died on me, had me a little thrown. So yes, we're going to be moving these zombies up the table. As I said before, their move is super slow, but they're just going to kind of make it to the up to the trees, and that's about as far as they're going to be able to go. Which brings us to the end of the creature phase, because The burrow worm got himself killed. The spider got punched in the face by a civilian, and the zombies are making their slow trudge up the board. It's hard to say what the right move is here, given the the nature of the threats we're looking at. So we're just going to have Gwyneth make a double move out, because one thing I forgot to mention, we do have a pair of treasure tokens on the board that our heroes can try to make a run for. So Gwyneth is just going to make a double move and pick up that treasure token, and we will find out what that is at the end of the game. As for our other heroes, like I said, it's kind of hard to figure what the right move is here. I don't really want to move my crew out too much, because we are going to have more baddies incoming. We are just going to have this archer make another double move out to pick up that treasure token. So we have now found both the treasure tokens. We don't have to worry about that, and we have flicked a tree off into the ether. Other than that, the one thing we're going to be doing actually in the house with all these civilians is we are going to have them back up. We are just going to have them back away from the scary, scary spider. So we're just going to have them all stepping away so that our Lorenthian man-at-arms here can come rushing forward. She's just going to take a move over there, and I'm not really going to have her rush in there. There's no point of her making a second move in there. It's just going to get her farther away from her people. So, and then this other archer here with the crossbow, just going to keep watch over this flank. So yeah, we've got one archer kind of exposed. We're going to be moving him back as soon as we can. But with that all being said, we've now reached the end of the companion phase, so it's time to flip over an event card from the deck of many horrible things. Sorry, these were the first 3 cards that I flipped prior to the start of the turn. And here we go with the red 3, which says that we need to place 2 null archers and 2 null fighters at a random point on a table edge. So we're going to need to randomize what table edge. So this far edge will be 1 through 5, and then clockwise in groups of 5 around the table. Like so. So let's see what we end up getting. We roll 5, so oh wow, so it's going to be a patrol of nulls showing up right next to our archer. Fantastic. Everything's going swimmingly, guys. It's fine. But yeah, with all that being said, that brings us to the end of the turn, and I will see you guys at the start of the next one. Alright, we're at the start of turn 2, giving you guys a quick reminder of the board. Got the zombies shambling up towards our our adventurous little rogue over there. We've got a couple of our buddies just jamming up the front door. We have our archer, who has rather foolishly ventured out to get that treasure and is going to be getting jumped on by a bunch of gnolls. So that's not great news. But we are starting off in the ranger phase, so we are going to have Tywin group activating with the Lorenthian crossbowmen next to him, because all of the Lorenthian soldiers and civilians count as companions for the purposes of the rules, which means they can group activate if they so choose. So we're going to start off with the crossbowmen dialing up a shot into this archer over here, the one on the right of your screen, the archer on the right of your screen. She's going to dial up a shot from her crossbow, see if she can't achieve archer supremacy. So she is just treated as being an archer, so she'll be a shoot +2 to that null's fight of +0. But it doesn't matter, because she rolls a total of a 16 to that null's 19, so that hasn't gone great. Her second action is just going to be to reload her crossbow and hope she can do better in the future. Coming over to Tywin, he is going to... You know, he's actually going to give himself use one of his heroic abilities. He's going to use his dash ability and get himself into base contact with these Gnoll fighters. He doesn't really like the idea of letting this archer fend for himself. So brave Tywin is just going to jump in to these two Gnolls over here. Again, that was using his dash ability. His normal move of 7 would not quite have gotten him there, but with his dash ability, he is able to make it to them with a single move of 9 inches. I'm trying to show off that all of the heroic abilities can be good. I know I've had a tendency in the past of just using like his command reroll and his defensive stuff. So, his Hand of Fate reroll. Been thinking too much about 40k. His Hand of Fate once per game reroll gets used a lot, and then a lot of his defensive buffs get used a lot, but not much else. So his second action is just going to be to take a swing, I guess, at the Gnoll on the left, because it has a spear, and I don't know, spears are scary. So Tywin is going to have a fight of +4 to the Gnoll's fight of +3 because of his gang up bonus. So let's see if we can't crank out a win here. No, actually, the Gnoll has been victorious here, and just to me isn't really worth the Hand of Fate reroll because the Gnoll has rolled a 9, which becomes a 12 to. Oh, actually, no, never mind. This is actually a tie. Yeah, never mind. This is actually a tie because Tywin has rolled an 8, which becomes a 12. So yeah, they have actually tied on this one. Which means Tywin actually is going to take no damage because he has an armor of 12, so he exactly absorbs the damage, but the Gnoll is going to take a bit of damage, just 2 wounds, because he's got an armor of 10, which takes him down to 8 wounds. There we go. But yeah, so that is because it was a tie. Tywin is not going to be able to force the Gnoll out of combat. You have to actually win a roll off to do that. But that is our ranger phase done. Because as I said, our crossbow lady is just reloading her crossbow and hoping to do better next time. That brings us into the creature phase where we have to do the creatures that are closest. So that's the ones that are in combat. They are going. The wounded Gnoll is going to take a swing at Tywin. So we're just going to repeat our roll from last time. Fight +4 to fight +3. Oh dear. So the Gnoll has rolled an 18, becomes a 21. Tywin, on the other hand, has only rolled a 4, so his parry skill won't even help him. So he's just going to have to pop his roll with the punches ability. So 21 minus 12 becomes 9, so he's going to take 4 points of damage, taking him down to 14. I'll have to mark that up in a second. That's not great, but the first Gnoll has landed a pretty hefty blow on him. The other Gnoll's going to do the same. Again, rinse, repeat. Fight +4 to fight +3. Okay, here we go. So Tywin has finally remembered what he's doing. He's like, hey, wait a second, I killed a burrowworm. I'm better than this. So he has cranked out his first natural 20 of the game. The other Gnoll has only rolled a 2. So apparently Tywin went in, slammed his sword into the guy on the left, believing that would be enough, turned to kill the Gnoll on the right, and in doing so exposed himself to a jab from the spear of the Gnoll on the left. Because, just to run you guys through the math on this, his natural 20 becomes a 24, becomes 29 damage. Even with the Gnoll's armor of 10, that's still 19 points of damage, so that Gnoll just explodes from the impact of Tywin's sword. But we are still gonna have to remember to mark up his wounds. In fact, we're just gonna do that right now. He's got, I know this dice doesn't actually show up all that well. He took 4 points of damage, so he's down to 14 wounds. And yeah, that doesn't show up so bad on camera. But yes, so that is one Gnoll dead. And I'm going to have the archers go ahead and not target Tywin just because he is so close and engaged with a guy with a spear. I don't see why the archers... This is one of those things where rules is written, they should be shooting at him, but that feels super gamey. I did it in the last scenario because like he was also by far the only one nearby, so it made sense that they would shoot at him. But here, there's another guy standing right next to them. There's a lady with a crossbow who just fired a crossbow at them. It doesn't really make a lot of sense that they would shoot and potentially hit their own guy. So they're just going to be opening up on the archer. They're going to have a shoot of +2. The archers fight with +0. So, I hope the archer can dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. So let's roll this up real quick. It's not going great. It's not going great. The first roll is a 20. He only has an armor 11, so he takes 9 wounds, is down to 1. So the first arrow slams into him, takes him down to 1 wound. He may die with that treasure token. We might have to go out and recapture it. The other archer, or the other gnoll fighter, or gnoll archer, sorry. Okay, so this works out fine. So the second gnoll archer misses entirely because he rolls a 10, becomes a 12. Our archer has rolled a 14. So takes no damage, but still is not looking great wounds-wise. We're going to have to worry about that in a minute. So that brings us to the end of the gnolls. The next closest creature is going to be our spider, who's just going to move back into base contact with the door to fight our Lorenthian man-at-arms, or in this case, woman-at-arms, who apparently has her katana raised and ready. She is going to be fight +3 to this spider's fight +0. Let's see what she can do. Ooh, I mean... yeah, she rolled a 5, becomes an 8. Again, does no damage, but she does win the fight because the spider rolled a 4. So our little Tyrannid gets forced back an inch again. And still taking no damage. And then over here, we just have to resolve the zombies. So, fortunately for Gwyneth, 6 inches is just shy of getting into contact. So this zombie is going to stop like an inch away from Gwyneth. These zombies, this one doesn't really have line of sight on her past that tree, so he would just move 4, but then would gain line of sight and move 2 towards her. So he's going to end up something like that. The other zombie, on the other hand, does have line of sight and is just going to move straight forwards, ending up like so. So the zombies are kind of... There's a part of me, because Gwyneth's move is so much faster than theirs, there's a part of me that's very tempted to just use her to kite the zombies around the table. But that's just asking for her to then get ambushed. I've seen a zombie movie. I know how this works. She starts kiting them away thinking she's being a big hero, and then next thing you know, she rounds the corner right into the face of a bunch of baddies. So, no thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. So we are just gonna we are now in the companion phase because we've moved all of our all of our baddies. So 7 inches plus another 3.5. Gwyneth is just gonna come here, run back over here to the other guy saying, "Help! There's a lot of baddies." We're just gonna have Damien move up to the fence. Bryn doesn't really have any good shots on anything, so he's going to do one action to reload his musket, and then he's got a 7-inch move, so he's also just going to kind of move up behind his swordsman buddy to prepare to receive these zombies. And Archibald, I don't really feel like using up his spell slots just yet, so he's just going to... the enemies are a little too scattered to be worth like firing off a fireball spell, so he's just gonna kind of creep in behind Bryn and wait to be useful. Our civilians, we're just gonna keep them in the corner. Like, yeah, I could use them to gang up on the spider, but I don't know, that just doesn't feel super in keeping with them being civilians that need protecting. So our much wounded archer is just gonna dial up a shot into the archer on the right who shot him. And it's going to be a shoot +2 to fight +0. No, this archer is every bit as useless as Bryn, because he rolls a 7, becomes a 9, The Gnoll has rolled a 12, so the Gnoll dodges out of the way. Fortunately, bows don't need reloading after each use, so this guy's just gonna move his 6 inches back in here. And hide and lick his wounds a little bit. Other than that, the only other thing really worth doing is we're gonna have our Lorenthian man-at-arms. She's gonna charge in here and try to take on this spider. She's going to be, again, fight +3 to fight +0. Okay, well, the fight +3 mattered. If this spider had any bonuses to its fight, it would have won. But it rolled a 19, which stays a 19, but she rolled a 17, which becomes a 20, which becomes 25 points of damage. So this spider just explodes and joins the dead pile. She just barely cranked that out, but it counts. So I'm gonna take the win where we can get it. But with that being said, that brings us to the end of the companion phase because our civilians are, well, now that the way is clear, I guess the civilians can move through the door. Yeah, we're gonna have them kind of run into this room and just sort of cower behind the bloodied sword of the man-at-arms, who has now protected them. Now, crucially, the way the rules for this work is that these gaps I've left on either side are meant to be treated as, like, windows, so creatures are going to be able to shoot ranged attacks through those, and they can try to climb in, but they cannot physically enter the room. There's no door to this room except from the larger room, which has a bunch of doors. It has literally 4 doors into the big room, only 1 door into the small room. And so, yeah, with that being said, we have reached the end of turn 2, and this is about to show you how this mission can get very dangerous, because you'll notice we started off turn 1 looking kind of good, killed that burrow worm, only had a spider and some zombies, and then suddenly we had a bunch of gnolls show up who are now taking up a bunch of my attention. I've got 2 wounded figures now, one of whom is almost dead. This kind of harkens back to an old rule of D&D. If you want your players to feel like they were in danger when they weren't, give them 1 really big enemy. If you want to actually put them in danger, give them 100 little enemies. This scenario is going to give me a bunch of little enemies. There's going to be new baddies showing up every round. So for 12 rounds, we're only at the bottom of turn 2. We got 10 more to come, and we've drawn the red ace. Oh dear. It's 4 more Gnoll fighters on a random table edge. I would show you guys this, but again, this camera lens just does not dig looking at a white piece of paper. So we have to randomize the table edge. The table where Tywin is at is going to be our 1 through 5, and then we're just going to go in groups of 5 clockwise around the table. So let's see what we got. Where are they coming? Oh dear. So that's going to be 4 more Gnoll fighters showing up right on Tywin's side. Apparently, there's a bunch of gnolls in that direction. Tywin is trying to single-handedly take them all on. I don't like where this is going one bit. But yes, I'm going to cut the camera so I can get the table all situated, and I will see you guys at the start of the next turn. Alright, turn 3, guys, and we now have a small army of gnolls showing up at the table edge. This is not going to go well at all. So Tywin is all by himself, and he's going to be the target of all of these gnolls. Meanwhile, our heroes over here actually do kind of need to deal with these zombies. The only saving grace is that we no longer have any baddies actually in the house. So we're just going to go jump into the ranger phase. Tywin can't group activate with anyone, so he's just going to activate and do his first action to try and take a swing at the gnoll he is in combat with. We're just going to move this tree out the way because it's just going to block the camera. So yeah, we've got Tywin in combat with a gnoll fighter right now. Fight +4 to fight +2. Let's see if he can do this. Okay, so Tywin has rolled a 10. +4 is a 14, which is going to be enough to do 4 points of damage and wound that gnoll, forcing it back. If he even wants to, I think... Yeah, he is going to want to, because otherwise he's going to get jumped on by all these other gnolls, and that's just not going to go well. So he's going to force this gnoll back, who has now been reduced to 4 wounds. And his next action is just going to be to get back inside. He needs to move his 7 inches to get in the door. He just needs to beat feet, remembering to take his wound marker with him. So Tywin is now bravely holding this doorway with the help of 2 archers, and we'll just have to see how that works out. But that brings us to the end of the ranger phase, so we're just going to go straight into the creature phase, where the closest creature is the wounded one, who's just going to move his full 6, and then take another move to end up back in combat with Tywin and our wounded ranger. But again, that's going to put him take up both his actions, so he's not actually going to be able to fight at all. And he's going to be blocking up the doorway somewhat, because while enemy creatures can move through each other, they can't end on another model's base. So this archer right here is going to dial up a shot at the crossbow woman who shot at him. We're going to give her heavy cover for hiding behind the wall, so it's going to be a +0 to a +0. And yeah, the Knoll rolls a 3. And our archer has rolled a 4. Honestly, it doesn't matter what the archer rolled. With a roll of a 3 and a +0, that's not going to be any damage. So that's going to be the archer's only action. Archers, typically, rules as written, if they have line of sight, will just shoot at what they have line of sight at. They won't move unless they absolutely have to. And so our other archer, we're just going to finish him off real quick, does technically have line of sight on on Tywin. Don't even know why I was about to call him Matthias. That has literally nothing to do with this game. But yeah, so Matthias is up in here, duking it out with this wounded Knoll, who apparently really wants to finish him off, really wants to continue this blood feud. So the archer is dialing up a shot, and we first have to see if it hits Tywin or the Knoll fighter. So on a 1 to 10, it's going to hit Tywin. On an 11 or higher, it hits the Knoll. And we have rolled a 14, which means our archer, in proud Knoll tradition, has shot his own homeboy. So that's going to be a shoot of +2 to a fight of +2. Oh dear. The Knoll archer has rolled an 18, becomes a 20. So for the second time in as many scenarios, a Knoll fighter has run into combat with our heroes and been shot dead by his own team. I promise, guys, this isn't staged. These really are dice rolls. They're not weighted dice. But yeah, that is a dead Knoll fighter taken out by an arrow from his own squad. Harsh stuff. We must stop this Knoll on Knoll violence. But with that being said, that is our 2 archers done. And we just have to start moving in our other Knolls, who are going to end up doing the same thing of this guy's going to take a double action to end up in base contact with Tywin. I'm just going to leave the archer unoccupied. This Knoll, however, is going to move up 6 and 3 and actually get into base to base. Let's see if I'm framing this correctly. Is going to end up in base contact with our crossbow wielder. However, these 2 pretty much just have to run up to the door and hang out. We have successfully bottlenecked them. Because, rules as written, the monsters will always move directly towards friendly units. They can't try to flank around and be clever. They always have to move straight at you. So yeah, that means our archer doesn't really have a line of he sort of does, but it's going to be through a lot of cover. Actually, hold on. I almost forgot to move our zombies. We have our zombies over here. Excuse me while I secure a tape measure. And zombies are moving up. Zombies are just going to move straight like that. The zombie's going to end up like so. This zombie's going to end up like so. We have 3 zombies approaching the fence, and a array of companions looking to deal with them, which brings us to the companion phase, where I don't really want the archer to risk getting tied up in melee, so he's just gonna back up to this table and dial up a shot through the doorway into the gnoll fighter beyond. Now, he's going to be taking like a -3 because he moved, and that gnoll is definitely going to have heavy cover. So it's going to be a shoot of -1 to fight +2, so I don't like his odds, but yeah, no, it ends up being a 3-2, terrible rolling. The archer is clearly quite injured, fixated on how badly he's bleeding, and is just gonna sit back and deal with that. Other than that, we are gonna have our Lorenthian man-at-arms, our noble samurai, just kind of move, take a double action move to get into melee with this gnoll over here, trying to beat back the hordes. But however, that is going to be a double move, so she's not actually going to get to fight. And we're going to resolve our crossbow wielder who's in melee. She's a fight +0 to a fight +2, so this is not a great fight for her. Oh dear. Yeah, she ends up taking, with her light armor, she's going to end up taking 2 points of damage because the gnoll has rolled an 11 to her 7. So she's going to end up taking 2 points of damage, going down to 8 wounds. And she's trapped in combat because enemy creatures will never knock a hero out of combat. Moving on to our hero, to our more notable heroes, I should say. We're going to go ahead and have Archibald move up here, and he's going to let off another spell. He's going to let off his Burning Light spell, which is going to put a +3 shooting attack on all 3 of these zombies simultaneously. It's kind of an area of effect spell where he lifts up his torch. The torch bursts out with holy flame and burns away the undead. So we're just going to go left to right here. So our zombie in blue is going to take a +3 shooting attack to their +0 fight. Yeah, it takes the damage, but it only ends up being a total of an 8. The zombie has an armor of 12, so the zombie's fine. Zombie in the middle is fine. Zombie on the right is dead, because with that +3 it becomes a 22, becomes a 27. Even with the 12 armor, that zombie on the right is burned away. So that spell only dealt with 1 zombie, which is not super effective, but oh well. Bryn is just gonna, with his reloaded crossbow, or it counts as a crossbow, but it's a musket. He's gonna level his musket, draw a bead on the zombie on the left, and dial in a shot. It's gonna be a shoot +2 against a fight of +0. Okay, so Bryn has actually come to play. Our zombie has rolled a 5. Bryn has rolled a 13, becomes a 15, becomes 17 points of damage. Minus the 12 armor is 5 points of damage, which actually leaves our zombie on just 1 wound. Damn. And then Bryn's second action is just going to be to reload. And then we're going to have Gwyneth. Actually, we're going to have Damien come on in here, hop the fence over to this zombie, keeping a wide enough berth that he doesn't get piled into by the wounded zombie. And it's going to be a fight of +3 to fight +0. Come on, bud. You're a champ. No, you're not. No, the zombie has won that fight. Yeah, not really worth a command, a hand of fate reroll here. So yeah, Damien is just trapped in combat because apparently hopping that fence and swinging a sword was too hard to do at the same time. But it doesn't take any damage because, 8 is less than his armor of 12 because he has a shield and light armor. I guess we'll have Gwyneth dial up her throwing knife into this wounded zombie. It's going to be a shoot of +1 to a fight of +0. But the zombie rolls well with a 10 to Gwyneth's 3. So that being said, we've reached the end of our companion phase. It has not gone spectacularly well, but that's how the dice go sometimes. So we've come to the end of the turn, and we're just going to draw another card from the deck of many horrible things. So we've come to a red 9, which is going to be place a troll on a random table edge. That's not great news, but we're just going to roll up which table edge. Again, 1 to 5 over here, and then going clockwise. Okay, so this time we've rolled an 8, so we're going to have a troll showing up over here. That's actually not so bad, because it should give us a turn or two to deal with other things before we have to deal with that. But with that being said, guys, we have reached the end of turn 3, and I will see you guys at the start of the next turn. Alright, we are starting off turn 4, giving you a quick sweep. We've got these zombies piling in on Damien. We have Tywin trying desperately to hold the line against a flurry of 4 null fighters with 2 archers giving them backup. We've got a troll coming in from this side of the table, looking to come in through this door and Kool-Aid Man himself into the situation. But we are going to group activate in the Ranger phase with Tywin, our man-at-arms, and our crossbow-armed archer. And we're just going to have Tywin take a swing at the null he is in combat with. He is going to be at fight +5 because of the man-at-arms giving him some backup. And hopefully this should be enough to get rid of that null. So fight +5 to fight +2. Okay, and Tywin, in heroic fashion, has thrown down another natural 20, which is just going to explode another null fighter. He's racking up quite the kill count. It's easier for him to be brave now that Thaddeus ain't around. And then for our swordsman's first move, she's just going to move into base contact with the null at the door and try to hold the line there. Our archer is going to take her first action to try and dial up an attack on that null fighter. So fight +0 to fight +2. No, she takes, let's see, 20 minus 11 is 9 wounds. She takes 9 wounds and dies. So our first archer has gone down. Now, again, because she's not like a permanent member of the party, we don't really need to roll to see what happens to her, but we're going to do it anyway, just to find out. Oh, she rolls an 11 on the out-of-action table, so she is alive. But that null has clubbed her rather hard across the head and dragged her to the ground. Probably looking to take her prisoner. That's not great news for us. But we're going to take her wound marker off the table, and then we are going to have Tywin take his second action to get into base contact with that null fighter, now desperately trying to plug the line. And our man-at-arms is going to take her second action and fight the null on the other side. And let's see if we can't get a better angle on that. She's going to take her second action to fight this null with a spear on the far side of that doorway. We are trying to successfully use the terrain to limit their angles of attack. So she is going to be fight +3 to his fight +2. Okay, so this is going to end up being her. She's going to have a total of a 12, so she's only going to end up doing 2 points of damage because the null has rolled a 6, becomes an 8. She's rolled a 9, becomes a 12. Yeah, and so he's just going to take 2 points of damage, going down to 8. So as soon as I get rid of this D8, it keeps wanting to come right back. But that will bring us to the end of the Ranger phase. We now have to go into the Creature phase. We're going to start with the Knoll in base contact with Tywin. He's just going to swing on the Ranger who exploded his bud in front of him. It's going to be fight +2 to Tywin's fight +4. Tywin has rolled a natural 1. He's going to take 2 more points of damage. There's a part of me that's very tempted to just... Yeah, because Tywin has rolled a total of a 5 to the Null's 14. Yeah, this just, to me, isn't super worth using any of his defensive stuff. So he's just going to take 2 more points of damage. Going down to 12, if I can find the 12 on this d20. Here it is. So Tywin has gone down to 12 wounds again fighting this Null. The Null's second action is wasted. The wounded Null in combat with our man-at-arms. Fight +2 to fight +3. So again, the Null has been victorious, but not enough so to do any damage because he's rolled an 8, becomes a 10. Her armor gives her an 11. So yeah, she just soaks the damage, and that whole front remains stationary. Now we come over to the zombies, where again, we have to go closest to farthest. So the zombie in contact with Damien is going to be rolling fight +0 against his fight +3. Oh no, she's rolled a natural 20. So he's going to take, with his 12, he's going to take 8 points of damage and be down to 4 wounds. Fun stuff. This second zombie is going to pile in and get a fight +1 to his fight +3. Come on, guys. Okay, so Damien has won this roll-off with... let's see if we can't get that better. He's rolled a 7, becomes a 10. The zombie has rolled a total 2, becomes a 3. So the zombie doesn't take any damage, because the damage score is less than his armor, but gets forced back an inch, and thus can still be attacked by the others. And yeah, that does it for that part of the creature phase. The other Null over here can't really do anything. He just has to sort of stand there looking frustrated. But let's look at the stats for this troll. He has a movement of just 4 inches. So his total of 6 inches of move is, like, not even enough to get him to the door. So our troll is just going to stomp, stomp, stomp right up to the door here. And then our archers are going to repeat their mistakes. They're just going to keep firing arrows, this time aiming at our Lorenthian man-at-arms. So again, on an 11+, they hit their own guy. They roll a natural 20, so they have once again hit their own man. So it's going to be shoot +2 against fight +2. No, but they have not done any damage. Because again, for the attack, I'm using the guys hitting the enemy with the green dice. They've rolled an 11, becomes a 13, but the defending Null rolls a 15, becomes a 17. So yeah, the Null that has just been hit in the face by the Lorenthian's sword and shot in the back, but the arrow bounces off his armor. He just turns back and lets out a howl at his supposed companions, and that's the end of that. But we do have another archer, who once again is going to see if he can dial up a shot. Does actually hit our Lorenthian, so she's going to have heavy cover behind that wall, so it's going to be shoot +0 to fight +3. Okay, and our Lorenthian has rolled a 15, becomes an 18, yeah, so, but, yeah, the archer rolled a 3, so that's going to be a whole lot of nothing. So the archers do nothing, and we're on to our companion phase, where we're going to start with Damien trying to free himself from this quagmire with the, well, actually, we're going to start with Bryn, who's going to see if he can't dial up a shot into this zombie on its last leg. Shoot +2 to fight +0. And Bryn is coming to play. He has dialed up a natural 20, which is going to delete this zombie. And, yeah, his second action is just going to be to reload his musket. And now we're going to go over to Damien, who is going to try and get himself free of this zombie before she tears his throat out. Okay, so technically we've rolled a tie score. But Damien has a +3 where the zombie is +0. So he's not going to do any damage because she's armor 12, but he can force her back an inch. But he's not going to, because I just realized there's literally no point. We're just going to have Archibald hop the fence, try to get into base contact, which he does. And now Archibald's going to take a swing. Because of the gang up bonus, he'll be fight +1 to fight +0. And again, he wins the roll-off, but not by enough to do any damage. Can we get Gwyneth in here to try and turn the tide? She's going to have a fight of +2 now. Actually, no, because she has her bone sword she picked in the last game. She's at fight +1 against undead. So she's going to be fight +3 right now. And takes 9 points of damage and is down to 1 wound. Awesome. She comes charging in, looking to help, and instead gets clubbed across the face so hard she's just like broken her nose. Awesome. Great job, guys. All we can really do now is our archer in the house is going to try to dial up a shot at the archer out there who's going to have heavy cover. So it's effectively shoot nothing to fight nothing. And yeah, this amounts to nothing because he rolled an 8. The archer rolled a 13. That's going to bring us to the end of our companion phase. I will see you guys. Oh, well, actually, hold on. We still got to draw an event card. We've drawn a red 2. Oh, great. It's more gnolls. We put a gnoll sergeant and 3 more fighters on a random table edge. So let's randomize our table edge. Using the same system as always. Okay, and they're going to be showing up where all the other gnolls showed up from. Fantastic. Alright, that's not great news for us, but I will just see how we deal with this, and I will see you guys at the start of the next turn. Here we are at the start of turn 5, not even halfway through this game, and things are already looking a bit bleak. We've got Damien and Gwyneth over here looking real rough after an encounter with just 1 zombie. And over here we have Tywin and our Lorenthian man-at-arms in combat with a growing horde of gnolls. We've got 3 gnoll fighters piled up outside the doors, and another 3 gnoll fighters that have just arrived with their sergeant being noted by the square base. He's an old school Warhammer Fantasy Storm Vermin model. And still have those 2 pesky archers in their very feeble shootout with our much wounded archer. And unfortunately, we also have a massive troll, and not just the internet variety, coming in the door. So things are not looking great for our heroes. But we are going to start off in the ranger phase. We're going to have our ranger Tywin here. Let's see if we can't zoom in and get a better look at him. Tywin over here engaged with this troublesome gnoll fighter over here. He's going to be group activating with our Lorenthian man-at-arms. See if they can't start to turn the tide a little bit. So Tywin is going to be activating first, taking his swing at the gnoll with his fight of +4 to the gnoll's fight of just +2. See if we can't figure out how to make this work. Okay. Could be worse, could be worse. So the gnoll has lost this fight with his roll of just 3 becoming a 5. And Tywin has won his bout, inflicting for a total of 18 points of damage because his final score is 18. However, the gnoll has an armor of 10, so he's only going to take 8 points of damage, leaving him at 2 wounds and still very much alive, which is not what we wanted to see. So we are going to come over to our Lorenthian man-at-arms over here, who's going to be fighting that wounded gnoll in the doorway. Again, fight +3 to fight +2. Oh dear, the Lorenthian is going to have a total armor of 12, takes 15, score of 15 off of the gnoll, so it's going to take 3 points of damage down to 9. Eek. So not a great ranger phase for us. I was really hoping to clear out some of these baddies. But we go into the creature phase right away. So the gnoll locked up with Tywin is gonna go. So we're gonna just repeat that fight of +2 to +4. And now, of course, Tywin cranks out a 19 to the gnoll's score of just 5. So it becomes a 7, but 19 becomes a bunch. It becomes a 23, becomes a 28, which would have one-shotted this gnoll if only Tywin could have achieved this quite some time ago. That would have been useful. So we've gotten rid of one gnoll, and now we're going to go into the gnoll fighting our Lorenthian man-at-arms, see if we can't free her up. So, again, fight +3 to fight +2. Okay, so she scores a total of a 14, which does win. However, she's not going to force her opponent back because right now he's doing her a favor by keeping her locked up and thus blocking the doorway. But he takes 4 wounds and has not yet died. So he's just going to stay there and have to burn his second action because he can only attack once per activation. So we are just going to come back over here. And unfortunately, we're going to follow rules as written. This zombie is going to attack Lady Gwyneth because she's only on 1 wound with fight +3 to the zombie's fight plus nothing. Okay, and this time Gwyneth manages to gather her wits, whip out her bone sword, and score a total of a 20. So 17 becomes a 20 with her +3 to the zombies, measly 4. That's going to be more than enough after all the bonuses to delete this zombie. So finally, our heroes have managed to do something right, which will free our buddies up to be helpful in the companion phase. However, we do still need to resolve everything else. So we have to resolve this troll who only has a movement of 4 for a total of 6, which seeing that he can't see our archer, he's just going to rumble 6 towards our Lorenthian man-at-arms. Ooh, whoa, camera, what the hell? Sorry about that, guys. So our troll has entered the building, is currently stomping towards our Lorenthian man-at-arms, who is now, we're just going to go ahead and get the archers out of the way since they're all more or less equidistant. So our archers are just going to continue their tradition of trying to shoot our heroes while they're locked in combat. So again, on a 1 to 10, they hit our Lorenthian. If they hit on an 11+, they'll hit the gnoll. So our archer cranks a 16, and we'll be shooting his buddy in the back again. So the green will be dice will be the archer, blue dice will be our defending gnoll. Shoot +2 to fight +2. Okay, so apparently these gnolls are way better at killing gnolls than we are, because that archer has rolled a 17, becomes a 19, which is going to be more than enough to kill that gnoll fighter. But since we had to activate the nearest gnolls first, that gnoll by the door would have had to burn both of his activations just waiting for the doorway to clear before the archer killed him. So, which does work out in my favor, but I promise I actually am following the way the rules are written. But it does mean that our second archer is going to have a free shot at our Lorenthian man-at-arms. However, she is going to have heavy cover thanks to the doorway, so it's going to be a shoot +0 to her fight +3. Okay, so yeah, our man-at-arms has successfully dodged out of the way with a 15 becoming an 18. Back up. Versus a just natural of 14. So that's good news, somewhat. But coming over here, back to the rest of these fighters. As much as I would love to activate the fighters first, that's just not how these rules work. The sergeant is going to be the closest, and he has more than enough movement with 6 inches to get into contact. He's going to be fighting with a +3 attack against our man-at-arms +3. Eek. So the gnoll sergeant is currently locked in combat with our man-at-arms in the doorway. Let's see how this goes. Okay, fortunately our man-at-arms is on a bit of a hot streak, having rolled a natural 18 against the sergeant's 9, which becomes a 12. So this 18 becomes a 21. Ooh, becomes a 26. So coming over here to look at the stats for a gnoll sergeant. 26 has an armor of 11. So 26 minus 11 is still 15 points of damage, I believe. Unless my math is way off, which he's only got 12 points of damage. So wow, comes run after one of these archers drops and kills one of their own guys. The archer the sergeant seeking to inspire his men or his fellow gnolls, lets out a bestial roar, comes charging into the house, only to be impaled upon our Lorenthian sword. Oh, she's doing very well. I do hope she survives this, because she is doing work. Okay, so that's one gnoll dealt with. We have another one coming up who, again, 6 inches is going to be more than enough to get him into combat. And again, it's going to be fight +2 to fight +3. So let's see if our man-at-arms can keep up this hot streak. Just starting to create a pile of dead bodies outside that doorway. Unfortunately, no. She takes 9 points of damage and is removed from play. There's a part of me that actually wants to Hand of Fate reroll to see if I can't fish for a better score. Because if I can get even a 17 on the dice, that would at least take the gnoll down with her. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to Hand of Fate this. No, it gets even worse. So now we've lost our Hand of Fate, and our Lorenthian man-at-arms is still removed from play. Let's see what happens to her on the out-of-action table. She also rolls an 11, and so will survive the out-of-action, narratively at least. So much like our archer, she has gone down. Our dead pile is growing. She did her level best and claimed quite a fair few number of gnolls, but just couldn't get it done. So we have two more gnoll fighters that need to move up. This buddy boy, let's see if we can't get the camera to focus. Come on. So this gnoll is just gonna run up behind the others and be stuck in the doorway. However, this gnoll has a line of sight on the doorway, and let's see, 6 inches won't quite get him there, but another 3 inches will get him into base contact with our ranger, keeping him tied up, which is not great news for us. However, that does bring us to the end of the creature phase, finally. We shored up one flank, and we have secured both of our treasure tokens. However, we're looking a little rough. So in our companion phase, we're going to come on over to our Lorenthian archer, who's going to dial up a shot on the troll, because that just seems like the obvious choice. Now, the troll has a mighty fight of +4 to the archer's shoot of just +2, so this is not going to be a great odds for us, but let's see if we can't make it work. No, not so much. The archer has missed spectacularly, scoring a total of a 10, and the troll rolling a 14. So we're going to come over to Bryn, who does have line of sight on that troll. And because the troll has the big rule, he doesn't gain the benefits of cover. So he's actually giving... I should have mentioned that the being big actually gives a +1 to any ranged attacks against him. So I guess technically speaking, our archer has actually rolled an 11, but still loses by a bunch. So Bryn is going to have a shoot of +3 now against our troll. So he's going to dial up a black powder shot. Shoot +3 to fight +4. Come on. Nope. That didn't work out either. He has rolled a 5. I am not liking Tywin's odds. He is in for a world of hurt real soon. So, yeah, Bryn has only rolled a 5, which becomes an 8, so he does no damage, particularly because our troll has rolled a total of a 17. So that's not great news. We're just going to have Archibald come over here and try to thin things out. He's going to move just up to this barrel over here, just trying to get a little bit closer to draw a line of sight. And he's going to actually let out a fireball through that doorway into that pack of gnolls just beyond. See if he can't get rid of all of them. So this is going to be +3 shooting attacks to every gnoll within 3 inches of the point he's going to pick. And yeah, we're just going to pick a point like right here, just so it's going to hit all of the gnoll fighters and not hit our ranger. So I guess we're just going to do this, starting with this gnoll right here, the furthest one away from Tywin. Shoot +3 against fight +2. Nothing.
Our wizard rolls an 8 to the Gnoll's 13, so that's nothing doing. Then we're going to do the Gnoll here at the back. Again, shoot +3, fight +2. Where he cranks a natural 20. Which, again, with the +3 from the from the magic attack and the +5 for critting, that's just going to be a dead Gnoll. So we've at least thinned them out somewhat. And then we're going to do the Gnoll that has removed our Lorenthia and see if we can't get fiery vengeance against him. Shoot +3 to fight +2. Okay, and the Gnoll in the doorway rolls a 5, becomes a 7, compared to a, well, if we can, there we go, 19 becomes a 22, becomes 27, becomes a fiery burnt Gnoll. So I guess the way we'll just classify this is that Archibald let off his fireball, streaked it through there, it evaporated the first 2 Gnolls who served as a handy meat shield for the survivor. So that has thinned things out ever so slightly. Things are looking a little bit better for us. We still have a completely undamaged troll. Our wizard is now completely out of spells, which, considering we're not even halfway through the game, is not great news. But we're going to have our wounded rogue back up next to Bryn. Excuse me a moment while I adjust the terrain. Remember her wound marker. And then Damien is just going to... my tape measure. Damien is just going to take a double move of 9 inches and get about there. Remembering to bring his wound marker. So yeah, we've got Damien coming back in to try and help, but that does bring us to the end of our turn 5. Things starting to even out a little bit. Let's see if we can't claw things back from the brink. But we're going to go ahead and flip our event card from the deck of many horrible things. Red 8. Oh, this is not so bad. Just place 2 giant flies at a random point on a table edge. So we're just going to grab a dice real quick, grab ourselves a d20, and once again, 1 to 5 over here with the Gnolls, moving clockwise in groups of 5. We roll a 2. So, man, that really is the side where all the baddies are coming from. So we're going to take 2 more of my Tyrannid Hormigaunt Gnolls, which are making a surprisingly large showing in this campaign. Was not expecting that at all. My friend Evan's handiwork is getting lots of display here. But yeah, so we've got our 2 flies showing up. That flank really proven to be more problematic than I was expecting. But that brings us to the end of turn 5, and I will see you guys at the start of the next turn. Here we are at the start of turn 6, and Tywin is standing all by his lonesome. I really need him to power up here and deal with this Gnoll in the doorway, because I am just so tired of him being locked down by these little Gnolls. So he's going to be dialing up an attack, his fight +4 to fight +2. Tywin. Okay, so this ends up being a tie score, which means they're both going to take damage. So yeah, because the Gnoll has rolled an 11, becomes a 13. Tywin's rolled a 9, which becomes a 13. And I have used my Hand of Fate. So yeah, it's a tie. They both take damage. The Gnoll will end up taking 3 points. He'll end up taking just 1, which gets him down to 11 wounds. Not ideal, but we will learn to live with it. But the Gnoll goes down to 7, bringing back the same D8 over and over again to mark these wounds. And that's the Ranger phase done. So, Creature phase, the Gnoll attacks him back. Fight +4 to fight +2. And Tywin, of course, again, now that he can't use it to gain any help, Tywin cranks a natural 20 and deletes the Gnoll, just in time for him to get ganged up on by more Gnolls. So we have another Gnoll just outside the doorway here who steps over the unconscious form of our man-at-arms, who, by the way, I should remove her wound marker and this wound marker. So Tywin will be taking another attack, same deal, fight +2 against his fight +4. Oh dear. So the Gnolls rolled a 19, minus Tywin's armor of 12 becomes 7 points of damage, which is going to take him all the way down to 4 wounds. Guys, this is not looking good for him. And of course, he is now the closest, well, it's about equidistant. And unfortunately for our archer, the troll is going to move towards whichever one has fewer wounds. So our troll actually ends up going towards our archer. It's going to be a fight +4 and a fight +0. Although, oddly enough, our archer actually cranks out a win here with a fight +0. So, yeah, our troll gets a total score of 10. Our archer scores a 17, doing 3 points of damage, taking him down to 13 wounds. Ooh, so we're just going to have to mark this up with a combination of dice because I don't have any other suitable d20s. So, this troll has an armor of 14 and 16 wounds. So even with a roll of 17, our archer only does 3 damage, taking him down to 13 wounds. But does force the troll back out of combat because he won the combat. So I guess that's somewhat good news. Unfortunately, the creature phase continues. That creature, that archer on the left over there, is now going to be able to dial up a shot on our archer. However, our archer is going to have heavy cover. I'm actually going to give him heavy and light cover because there's the doorway and bodies in the way. So our archer is actually going to be at a -3 to his fight of, at a -1 to his fight of nothing. And our archer has clearly decided that now is his moment because he's rolled a 19, so he dodges himself out of that path of that arrow. But then our other archer is going to fire into the melee with Tywin because he has no line of sight on anything else. And it's going to be, first we have to see who he hits. So again, on an 11+, it'll be his fellow Null. No, he has hit Tywin, so it's going to be a -3 to hit, again, because light cover and soft cover. So -1 to Tywin's +4. And Tywin manages to duck the arrow no problem. With a score of 18 becomes 22. Yeah, easily dodges out of the way of the archer's 12. And that brings us to the end of the Gnolls. Now we have the 2 flies who, again, are going to do much like the Gnolls, flying over the pile of corpses that have now been piled up there thanks to our man-at-arms and Archibald. And they're just kind of stuck out there doing whatever. So we come to the companion phase, where Bryn, once again, is just going to dial up a shot at... well, actually, first what we're going to do is get Gwyneth kind of out of the way, so we're not inviting any soft cover penalties. So he's just going to dial up another shot at the troll. His shoot +2 to the troll's fight +4. It's going to be hard to deal with. So... no, Bryn rolls himself a 3. The troll has like a final score of 22. Doesn't really matter. Bryn is just going to fire off another shot and then do nothing. He's going to reload for his second action and he's just sort of stuck here. So we're going to have Archibald. I don't really like... he's got a fight +0 with a regular hand weapon, so I don't really like his odds going in there. He's going to stay back here and just provide some kind of melee support for Bryn and Gwyneth. Meanwhile, Damien is just within 6 inches of our pesky Knoll. He's going to come rushing forward, see if he can't help his buddy Tywin out of a spot. So Damien comes rushing forward, looking to end this. He gets the gang-up bonus against this Knoll of fight +4 with his gang-up bonus with Tywin. So fight +4 to the Knoll's fight +2. Oh dear. Damien, I think, just got himself knocked out of action because, yeah, the Null has rolled a total of 17. He has an armor of 12. He takes 5 points of damage, which will remove him from play. So, let's see what happens to him on the out-of-action table. He has rolled a 17 on the out-of-action table, which is full recovery. So he's just removed from play. A third hero in a row removed from action, but with no permanent side effects. Apparently, these monsters came here to take prisoners. Who knew? But that our civilians are just going to keep on cowering in the small room. Are they? it might be useful for them to get in the fight, because it just would give us more bodies to block things, but no, that wouldn't be very heroic of us. So yeah, our civilians are just going to stay hiding in the back room, and we're just going to draw another event card, a red 4. Oh, great. We placed 2 more Null Archers, 2 Fighters, and a Null Sergeant on a random table edge. So the biggest Null patrol just so far. Let's, again, 1 to 5 is that table edge, going clockwise in groups of 5. 7. Okay, so at least they're not showing up on the exact same table edge. They'll be showing up over here from the same direction the Troll did. It should buy us a few turns. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get that set up off camera, because that's just a lot of bodies to be moving. But that brings us to the end of turn number 6. We are now halfway through the scenario, and things are looking bleak. I will see you guys at the start of the next turn. Alright guys, we are now at the start of turn 7, and we have another massive pack of gnolls showing up here. We actually have an actual gnoll figure from the Frostgrave collection that I managed to dig out for this, because I'm starting to run out of bodies here. But the rest of the gnolls I've been using are, you know, Skaven clan rats, some of which I personally kit bash to have bows to be archers. But yeah, things are looking a little bleak. I sure wish I had more of those fireball spells. But oh well. Right into the ranger phase is going to be real simple. Tywin is on his own, and he's just going to dial up another attack on that clan rat / gnoll. See if he can't get himself out of this mess. So fight +4 to the gnoll's fight of +2. Well, yes and no. Tywin has managed to win that fight with a 5 to the gnoll's 3. His 5 becomes a 9, does no damage. He's able to force the gnoll back, and I think his next move is going to be... to... Nah, he's just going to keep that gnoll in combat with him, because it's going to simplify things in the creature phase. There's really nothing else. I could try moving him into combat with the troll, but as wounded as he is at 4 wounds, I don't see the point if he can't actually make an attack. So he's just going to be standing there fighting that gnoll, who's now going to swing back on him. Again, we basically roll the same fight again. And in proud tradition, Tywin does better in the enemy turn than in his own. He's done a total of 17, doing 7 points of damage after armor. Because he rolled a 13, becomes a 17 with his modifier, -10 for the gnoll's armor, does 3 points of damage. Or does 7 points of damage, leaving him on 3. And then they just kind of stay locked in there, and the 2 flies stay hovering outside. The troll goes back in for another fight with the archer. Let's see if our archer can get lucky again. I don't like his odds. So fight +0 to fight +4. Yeah, no, he's instantly killed. The troll rolls a total of 21 with his 17. So let's roll an out of action result for him, just narratively. He rolls a 10. For those of you who are not familiar with the Rangers of Shadowdeep out of action table, a 9 or better is a full recovery. So that is the 4th full recovery we have rolled. So the troll knocks him out, and apparently they're just here to take us prisoner. And the troll's second action is going to be to meander towards Tywin, not quite making it there. And so, companion phase, not many companions left. Bryn is going to try to dial up a shot on the troll again. He's going to have shoot +2 to fight +4. He does technically win the roll-off, but not by enough to do any damage. So his second action is to reload, and that's about it. As much as I hate to do it, we are going to have to send Archie in there to try and distract. He's going to go rushing in there with his torch, and all of his no spells. Doesn't quite make it to the troll, but is now closer. So at least he won't be in too much trouble. Gwyneth literally cannot do anything. She's just going to run over to the doorway. I am not super keen on sending her in there. Who am I kidding? Let's just send her in behind Archie. Maybe she can sell her life dearly. We've been rolling full recoveries on the out-of-action table anyway. But that gets us to the end of the turn, where we now have to draw another event card, bringing in even more enemies. We've drawn a red 6, which is going to be 3 more zombies at the table edge. So I will put those down in just a sec. But considering how much trouble the last 3 zombies were, I don't like my odds here, guys. This is starting to look pretty bleak. So we'll just have to see how this goes. This brings us to the end of turn 7. I'll see you guys at the start of the next one. Alright, here we are at turn 8. I realized I forgot to show you guys the randomized direction the zombies were showing up from. I did roll a 17 on that result, which I just realized this is meant to... Oh, this was Tywin's old wound marker. He's now down on 4 wounds. But the zombies are showing up from this far table edge, which does buy us a few turns of not having to worry about it. But we're going to need to do some work over here. Tywin currently locked in combat with a troublesome gnoll. Still not in range to group activate with anybody. Alright, just gotta get rid of that now defunct wound marker. So Tywin's just going to activate and get into a fight with a gnoll. See if he can't do a little better this time. So, fight +4 to fight +2. Okay, and not only did Tywin win this one, but his +4 ended up being super relevant here, because our gnoll rolled an 18, which becomes a 20. But Tywin has rolled a 17, which becomes a 21. So he wins, and does a boatload of damage, because it becomes 21 points of damage, plus the 5 for critting. That's 26 points, more than enough to explode another gnoll. Which does leave Tywin with a second activation. It's hard to say what the right move is here. Obviously that troll is a problem, but if I move into the troll, I can't attack again this turn. And I have a pair of giant flies coming in, so Tywin is just going to move into the doorway, cause one of the flies to snap into melee with him. And that's going to be his turn. So that brings us out of the ranger phase into the creature phase. We're just going to come around so you can actually see the flies he's in, or rather the definitely not Tyranids that he's fighting. So it's going to be fight +4 to fight +0 against that fly. And of course we've rolled our dice off the table. The fly has rolled an 11, stays an 11, becomes a tie match with Tywin, who's rolled a 7, which also becomes an 11. So it's a tie. Tywin takes no damage because he has an armor of 12, so he absorbs all of the damage, but the fly only, I believe, has an armor of 6, so he takes 5 points of damage, which is his entire health pool. So the fly has actually died, even from that fairly mediocre roll. So that is a dead definitely not Tyranid. So then our second definitely not a Tyranid is going to go ahead and charge on in. See if he can't do any better. So it's going to be, again, fight +4 to fight +0. Come on, Tywin. You're finally doing work. Okay, so Tywin does a total of... He rolls up a 10, does a total of 14 damage, which, again, more than enough to delete that fly. And so it's now the troll's turn to pile into Archie, who is the closest model. Oh dear. And we're going to have Tywin snap into combat with him, and thus now be no longer target. Well, he's technically targetable, but they'll have to roll for it. But the troll is still going to swing on Archibald, because that makes more sense to me. He went towards Archibald. The fact that Tywin came charging him really shouldn't change that. So Archie's going to have a fight of +1 with the gang up bonus. Our troll is still going to have a fight of +4, so let's see how this goes. Okay, oddly enough, Archibald has defeated the troll. The troll has rolled a natural 1. Archibald has rolled a 7. I would absolutely Hand of Fate reroll that if I could, but we've already done that this game. Because now that I know the troll has rolled a 1, it's kind of hard to do worse than that. But, unfortunately, Archibald has not rolled high enough to cause any damage, even with his +1. So he's now just trapped in combat. I don't see a reason to force him out of combat. So, this is where we're going to have to get a little weird, because now the archers still need to do their shooting. Now, this archer, I've just realized, does have a line of sight on Bryn. So I probably should have been playing that differently, but I'm not going to go back and fix it now. But the archer is just going to dial up a shot on Bryn. Bryn's going to have a wall in the way for heavy cover. But yeah, we'll just call it light cover, because the fact that it's stone probably shouldn't change much. So that archer is going to dial up a shot on Bryn. It's going to be a shoot of effectively +1 to Bryn's fight of +0. Oh dear, so the archer has rolled a 19, which with Bryn's armor of 11 is going to be 9 wounds. It's going to take him down to just 3. That's not great. So that archer has done very well. The other archer, oddly enough, doesn't have a line of sight really on anything, so is thus going to have to move to get line of sight on Gwyneth. He's just going to move over, like so. Sorry, I probably should have shown that on camera. He was more like over here, but he's just going to move over like so, getting himself line of sight on Gwyneth, but he has moved, and he is going to be shooting through heavy cover. So that's going to be a -3, so he's effectively at shoot -1 to Gwyneth's fight +0. So come on, Gwyneth. Okay, our archer has rolled a 3, so even if he had one, it wouldn't have amounted to anything. But he misses entirely, and that is the end of our... Oh, actually, no, sorry, it's not even close to the end of our creature phase. We have a whole null patrol, but I'm actually going to do that off camera for you guys and show you where that ends up. Okay, so we're still in turn 8, but I just wanted to show you guys how all this wound up. Our zombies have kind of shuffled forward through the trees. This null patrol is making a beeline for that doorway to try and join the fun. Again, things not looking great for our heroes with so many of our guys out of action. The entire Lorenthian military contingent has been deleted. We've lost Damien. Tywin is not looking great. We can just hope that this works out a little bit better in the next coming turns. But with that, we come to the end of turn 8, where we draw another card from the deck of horrible things. We've drawn a red 7, which is going to be place 2 more flies on a random table edge. See, guys, this game is just looking to overwhelm us with sheer numbers. Okay, so that's a 13 we rolled for a random table edge. That'll be coming over here on this side closest to me. So we're just going to plop 2 flies down real quick. 2 more of these, definitely not Tyranids. Alright, and so that's where we've ended up, and that brings us to the end of turn 8. We'll be going into the next turn in just a moment. And here we are at the start of turn 9, guys. We've just done a sweep of the board, so I'm not going to bore you too much. Zombies coming in on one side, gnolls coming in on the other, archers who have stuck around far longer than they deserve to, and Tywin stuck in here. Let's see if we can't get you a better angle on that. Tywin stuck in here with a troll whose base is so large, Tywin is now still technically not close enough to group activate with any of his companions. He's going to have to try to do this all himself. So he's going to be dialing up an attack against the troll, but he's going to activate his newly acquired heroic ability. He actually got this from leveling up at the end of the last scenario. So he is going to be using his frenzied attack ability. It gives him an additional +5 to his attack modifier for just 1 attack. Taking up, on top of his natural +4, he's going to be a fight of +9, which becomes a fight of +10, thanks to Archibald giving him a gang-up bonus. So, fight of +10 against this troll's fight of +4. So let's see if he can make something happen here. Okay, so Tywin has rolled up a natural 9, becomes a 19. Was gonna do 5 points of damage after the troll's armor of 14. So 5 points of damage from 13 takes him down to 8, which is progress, but maybe not the amount of progress we were hoping for. But oh well. So the troll is now down to 8 wounds, and that's our ranger phase done. So we're right over to the creature phase, where the troll is going to swing back at the guy who just hit him. So Tywin will no longer have his frenzied attack, so it's just going to be fight +5 because of the gang-up bonus to fight +4 for the troll. Fortunately, the troll doesn't seem to be rolling too hot. The troll has rolled, let's see if we can back that up. 3 becomes an 8, or becomes a 7. Tywin has rolled a 12, becomes a 17, becomes 3 more points of damage on our troll, who goes down to 5 wounds. That being done, this archer over here is now just going to dial up a shot on Bryn again, who is just going to have to kind of take it. So it's going to be shoot +1 because of the cover to fight +0. But Bryn has decided to remember how to dodge and has rolled a natural 20. He's fine. This archer over here is going to be dialing up the archer on the right of your screen is going to be dialing up a shot on Gwyneth at effectively shoot +0 because of the heavy cover against her fight +0. So let's see how this goes. This was a closer run thing, but the archer has rolled a 9, where our Gwyneth has rolled an 11, so Gwyneth will be fine. But in our creature phase, the zombies, let's do them first because they're easier, are just gonna barely make it to the gap in the stone. And that is our 3 zombies moved up. Our gnolls here, we're just going to have to measure this real quick, are going to have a double move. This gnoll fighter's first action move is going to be enough to get him over to Tywin. Our other gnolls are just going to pop in close behind. This gnoll's going to move over here, and not because of our troll being huge, he's not really going to have line of sight to anything. But I suppose, well, we should finish off the first Knoll's action, because he first action moved to get into contact with Tywin, where it's going to be, he's going to take his second action to fight, and it's going to be fight +2 to fight +4, because Tywin will not be getting a gang up bonus, but then neither will the Gnoll, because everybody is otherwise engaged. Oh dear. Tywin takes 2 wounds from that, and it goes down to 2. This is not looking great for us, guys. I don't think we're making it to turn 12. So the archer is just going to dial up a shot into this scrum. Because the troll is so big, I'm still going to have him be an 11 up and have Archibald and Tywin be sharing the 1 to 10 slot. Normally, that's not how we would do it. We'd have to give them all an equal chance. But again, the troll being so big, we're just going to have to give that a try. Because the troll is actually blocking line of sight from Gwyneth to the Gnoll archer. So it's going to be a... First, let's see who he ends up hitting. So he's rolled a 14. Let me see if I can't get that into focus. There. So he's rolled a 14. And that means he's hit the troll. So it's going to be a shoot of +2 to fight of +4. So our archer ends up failing because we've rolled double 14s. So yeah, the troll doesn't care about the arrow. The arrow just kind of bounces off him. That's both of those guys done. So our Gnoll Sergeant, the only actual Gnoll model I have, is going to kind of move 3 and 3 and then another 3 and kind of get stuck behind his Gnoll subordinate. And then we're going to have another archer move up and do much the same thing, dialing up a shot. Just show you how that ends up. So we've got 2 archers here, dialing up a shot on the troll again. We're going to run this the same way. See if he can't hit the troll. So on an 11 plus, he'll hit the troll. He rolls an 8. So now we're going to make this kind of a 50-50. 11 up, he hit Tywin. Yes, Tywin has been hit. And so it's going to be a shoot +2 to his fight +4. So the archer has successfully hit, but his amount of damage, having rolled a 9, becomes an 11. Tywin takes no damage because of his armor 12. And then our last Gnoll is just going to kind of pop in through the door and barely be in the room. But with that, we're just going to come over here to the flies, who I've actually been getting their stats wrong in previous games. They've only got a flat move of 6, so they're going to move 9 inches up about here and here. things not looking so great for Bryn. So moving into our companion phase, Bryn is just going to try to dial up a shot on that archer before he beats feet in the sounds of the retreat. So he's going to have a shoot +2. We're going to go ahead and give that... So it's going to be a shoot +1 because of the cover against that Gnoll's fight +0. Unfortunately, Bryn has decided to stop being useful, has rolled a natural 1 on his dice, on his attack, and he is now going to bravely run away over to this doorway, get out of line of sight of the archers. So, there we go. That gets us to the... Oh, and actually, no, we do still have Gwyneth and Archie. Yes, Archibald will try to make an attack. I don't see this going super well, but he's fight +1 against fight +4. Or actually, no, he's just fight +0. So our troll has 1, but has rolled a 7, becomes an 11, which is exactly Archibald's armor. So Archibald has lost, but by exactly enough that he takes no damage. Gwyneth at this point, I don't really love any of her options. I guess she's just going to try to gang up on this troll and see if she can't make the difference. So, because he is tagged again, we will be regaining our gang up bonus. So, fight +1 against fight +4. Come on, Gwyneth. No. Gwyneth loses and and the troll has rolled exactly high enough to take her out of action. So we'll just have to see how that works out on the out of action table. Gwyneth has rolled a 17 on the out of action table. So for the 5th time in a row, a good guy has been removed at no penalty. The no long-term effect. She's going to make a full recovery for the next scenario. So we are just one by one being taken captive by this tide of enemies. This, like I said, guys, I don't like my odds here. I have successfully beaten this scenario before, but I don't think that's going to be what happens this time. So we're going to draw another event card for a black 3. Earthquake. Every figure on the table, heroic and evil, should immediately make a move roll. Target number 16. If it fails, it falls over and misses its next activation. If this card is drawn before the scenario starts, draw a replacement and shuffle this back into the deck. Okay, so everything in here has to make a movement check, target number 16. So the zombies only have a movement of 4, so they need to roll a 12 to pass this. So the first one passes with a nat 20. Second one fails on a 9, which becomes a 13, so not quite enough. And then the third zombie rolls an 8, which is still going to be a fail. So 2 of those zombies are going to be... So the zombie closest to us has passed. The other 2 have failed. Of our 2 flies here, the one on the left rolls a total of a 14 with his movement 6. So yeah, that's going to be a fail. So the fly is not going to be moving or activating at all. And the fly on the right rolls a 14 plus 6. That's going to be enough. So 1 fly and 1 zombie will be activating. We're going to do our archer on the left here, who is going to roll a natural 20 and be able to activate. Damn. The other archer on the right is going to roll a natural 1 and not activate. So coming over here, archer on the left is going to roll a 12 plus 6 is an 18, so he'll be activate normally. Curses. Archer on the right rolls, I think that's a 16, so that's going to be enough. So they're both activating normally. Curses. Unengaged Gnoll over here rolls an 8, which is not going to activate because 8 plus his movement of 6 is 14, so not quite enough. Our Gnoll Sergeant, who's just out of combat, has a movement of 6. Rolls an 18. He's just fine. Curses. The Gnoll that is currently engaged rolls a 17. We'll be rolling just fine. We'll be activating just fine. Again, curses. Troll Boy over here is going to be rolling for his movement of 4 plus an 18. He's just fine. Curses. Bryn, you've got a movement of 7. Surely you'll roll a 9 or better. Oh yeah, he's rolling an 18, so Bryn's going to be activating just fine. Gwyneth is not on the table. Archibald, movement 6, needs a 10. Cranks it with a 12. I'm not going to roll for the civilians just because they're not really doing anything. We're going to have Tywin, his movement of 7. Plus 6 is a fail, so Tywin will not be activating next turn, so we don't get a ranger phase next turn. Awesome. That's fantastic. So that brings us to the end of this turn, turn number 9. Like I said, not looking great for us. We're not going to get a ranger phase next turn. Yeah, I'll see you guys at the start of the next one. And here we are at start of turn 2. Like I told you guys, we don't have a ranger phase, so we're just leaping right into the creature phase. We have to activate the closest ones first. So the Gnoll right here that is currently in contact with Tywin is going to be activating first with his fight of +2 to Tywin's fight of +4. So we're just going to come on over here, roll that up. Okay, Tywin, despite not activating, has cranked a 19 to the Gnoll's 8. With his 19, that becomes a 23, becomes a 28 with the crit bonus. So that just becomes a dead Gnoll. Another for the pile. We are slowly but surely thinning them out, but there's still a boatload of them. And that means it's now the Troll's turn to fight, so he's gonna dial up a shot into Tywin, because Tywin has the lowest number of wounds, so it's gonna be fight +4 to fight +4. And Tywin has rolled exactly enough to do absolutely nothing. He has rolled a 10, becomes a 14, which is exactly the Troll's armor. That Troll ain't going no place. So then we have our Gnoll Sergeant charging in, who is not going to be getting a gang up bonus because the... Oh, actually, hold on. Tywin would have had a gang up bonus there. He would have had an additional +1. So, okay, he did a whole 1 point of damage, taking our Troll down to just 4 wounds. But our gang up bonus has now been negated that Tywin is engaged by 2 baddies, but there's no gang up bonus either way. So our Gnoll is going to be fighting at +3 to Tywin's +4. The Gnoll does win that fight, but rolls a 9. With his +3, that'll become a 12, exactly enough to bounce off Tywin's armor. So Tywin heroically sees his defenses failing, manages to lob off the head of a charging Gnoll that has jabbed him in the side, raises his shield, manages to block the incoming blow of another sergeant, and seeing an opening, jabs a quick kick into the leg of the Troll, seeing if he can't help out Archibald. But with that being said, our other Gnoll is just going to kind of come around here, and will be getting a gang up bonus. So fight +3 to Tywin's fight +4. But Tywin has done well for himself, has rolled a 12 to the Gnoll's 7. Will be getting a total of 16 to 6 points of damage, taking the Gnoll down to just 4, but not killing him. And we're just going to use that victory to force him out of combat. And now we just have... well, let's move up the one zombie that can move. Let's measure that out real quick. So 6 won't quite get the zombie to Bryn. And then our fly over here will move 9 inches to about there. Bryn looking a little trepidatious. So we now have to do archers. Now this archer, the archer on the left is the one that is activating and is going to dial up a shot into the combat with the Troll, as he can't really draw line of sight to Bryn anymore. So again, we're just going to have to see who he actually ends up hitting, because at this point it's one giant mess of a combat. So on a 1 to 5 he'll hit Tywin, on a 6 to 10 he'll hit Archibald, on an 11 to 15 he'll hit the Troll, and on a 16 plus he'll hit the Gnoll Sergeant. Rolls a 3 and hits Tywin. Awesome. So Tywin will have a bunch of cover here, so it's going to be -3. So effectively, shoot -1 because of all the cover negative modifiers to Tywin's fight +4. Doesn't matter. Tywin still loses, takes a bunch of damage, and dies. So Tywin is removed from play. What happens to him on the roll? Tywin rolls an 18 on the out of action table. So he is removed from play, but is also just taken prisoner. Again, guys, it's not looking great for us. The 2 archers over here have also activated, who are just going to start dialing up shots at Archie. The combat has become a lot less confusing now that Archie is by himself. So it's just going to be on a 1 to 10 they hit Archie, on a 11 plus they hit the troll. So first archer hits Archibald. Second archer hits the troll. So the shot that landed on Archibald. Archibald has rolled a 15, so he's just fine compared to the archer who has rolled like an 11, I think, with all the cover in the way. So his 10 goes down to just a +1, so yeah, 11 to 15. So Archie's fine there. But the other archer getting a +3 because of the big bonus against the trolls, fight +4. No, the troll is just fine, rolling a 19 on his defense. So the archers do nothing. The archers just fire off some shots and achieve nothing. But guys, it is not looking great. Our ranger has been removed. All we have is a heavily wounded Bryn and an oddly enough completely unwounded Archibald, because that wound marker I just removed was from Gwyneth. But Archibald's just going to dial up a shot at the approaching zombie, see if he can't somehow try his best to stem the tide. So shoot +2 to... actually, he fired and moved last time, so his first action has to be to reload, and his second action is going to be to fire at the zombie. Shoot +2 to fight +0. Okay, he fails. Awesome. The zombie has rolled a 15 to his 10, so even with his +2, he fails. Awesome. Archie's going to try to take a swing at the troll. So Archibald is stuck in combat with the troll. He's going to be swinging on him, and he's going to be fight +0 to fight +4. No, the troll gets a massive 21. That does 10 points of damage. Archibald is single-handedly wiped off the face of the earth, but rolls a 13 on the out-of-action table, and thus will be just fine. As I said, anything 9 or better is a survival. So Archie has been removed from play. So far, everyone who's gone out of action has been just fine. But Bryn stands alone at the end of turn 10. Let's draw another card and see what he has to deal with. Gonna have to try and claw this back. A black 4. Choose one hero. That figure should make a perception roll, target number 6. If successful, it finds a quiver containing a magic arrow, a +3 magic arrow. A little late for that, guys, but great. So Bryn's the only one left, so he's gonna have to make a perception check of 6+. No, he rolls a 1. He doesn't see a damn thing. I don't know if you guys can see that. He's rolled a natural 1, so he doesn't perceive a damn thing. But that gets us to the bottom of turn 10. I will see you guys at the start of the next turn. And here we are at the start of turn 11. Things looking pretty bleak over here. Yeah, I don't really know what we're going to do here. Bryn just has to try and survive. Get us to the end of turn 12, but we go right into the creature phase because we've got no ranger anymore. Our zombie is just going to rush forward and make a +0 attack. Yeah, because both these guys are fight +0. Okay, so Bryn has proven victorious, but does no damage because he didn't roll high enough. So the zombie just gets kind of clubbed in the face by his musket and falls back. Next, we're going to have this fly come in, and then continuing the fight of the noodle arms. It's going to be fight +0 against fight +0. Okay, Bryn this time has rolled a 17, so still winning, and removing the 17 will be high enough to remove that fly from play. So taking a few more baddies with him as he's out on his way out the door. You know what? That's actually not so bad. I can deal with him making a heroic last hand, but the troll is about to come in. Makes one action to move, one action to fight him. It's going to be fight +0 against fight +4. I don't see Bryn surviving this. But I am mistaken. Bryn rolls a 17. Now, that would normally do 3 points of damage, but only 2 in this case, because his staff is -1 damage. Wasn't relevant against the fly because of how high he rolled. But yeah, so the troll takes a point of damage down to 3, so we've almost killed the troll. That troll has just been a battering ram, shattering my defenses. But yeah, these, oddly enough, that actually kind of works out for Bryn. These gnolls now rush in behind and can't quite get to him. This fly, who couldn't activate a couple turns ago, just rushes forward to there. Zombies shuffle forward. These 2 archers over here are going to double move because they don't have line of sight. That archer way back there is going to be shooting through a bunch of cover, so he's going to be at like a -2 to hit through all those bodies and double heavy. Actually, hold on. He's got double heavy cover because of 2 walls, at least 3 soft covers. So yeah, that's going to be a -7. So this Null's going to be shooting at a -5 to Bryn's fight +0. And Bryn, of course, rolls a natural 20. I'm not making that up, guys. He actually cranked a natural 20, so he's just fine. The other archer is going to move and actually take even more penalty and be at a total of -6 after modifiers. So -6 to 0. Oddly enough, with the -6, the null archer has rolled a 12, becomes a 6. Bryn rolled a 7. So somehow he's alive, but he is trapped in combat with a troll. So in his activation, he is just gonna fight +0 against fight +4, and has somehow eked out a win. Yeah, he's rolled a 15. Yeah, which is going to be just enough to do 1 point of... No, because of the -1 damage on his staff, he does no damage. So he wins, but does no damage, and that's his turn. That brings us to the end of turn 11. We are almost through this. Bryn, against all odds, might be about to pull this one out. All he has to do is survive. Well, actually, even he doesn't have to survive. The civilians just have to survive, and I suppose that's going to be indicative of the baddies being so drawn into the front door to this fight of our heroes that our civilians are able to kind of creep out through the broken window over there and make their escape. But yeah, somehow we might actually come out on top of this. Hold on, I'm forgetting. We need to draw another event card. So we're gonna draw a black 5. A swarm of stinging insects swirls through one of the rooms of the farmhouse. Randomly choose which room, and every hero in that room must make a will roll or suffer 2 points of damage. Well, there are no heroes. Well, I guess we could count the civilians, so we have to randomize. So on a 1 to 10, it'll be the big room. 11 to 20, it'll be the small room. We roll a 6, so it's the big room. So a swarm of horrible insects rushes into the big room, but it specifically says it only targets heroes, and there are no heroes in there, so nothing happens. That brings us to the end of our turn, and I will see you guys at the start of the last turn of the scenario. Come on, Bryn, you got this. Momentous times are upon us, guys. We have somehow made it to the bottom of turn 12. Things not looking great. Bryn stands alone against a tide of enemies, but you know what? He managed to hang things out in the last turn. Let's see if he can't do it again this turn. Maybe he will break the will of the enemy. But it is the creature phase, so the troll will be going first and will be fight +4 to Bryn's fight +0. Let's see how this works out. Come on, Bryn. Weirdly enough, it's a tie. With Bryn taking the troll's total is going to be a 13. Bryn has armor, so Bryn's going to take 2 points of damage and go down to 1 wound remaining. Can he somehow bring out the win? I don't know. The troll, to be fair, is blocking the gnolls. Doorways seem to be their greatest nemesis. But this zombie is going to come in with a fight +1 to his fight +0, and he has to win this or die. Oddly enough, he's won it. Okay, Bryn has rolled a 17, which brings him to a damage of 16, which is going to do 4 points of damage, bringing our zombie down to 2 wounds, but crucially, kicking it back out of combat. And then our fly is going to come in there and try to do the deed. Fight +1 thanks to the troll being troublesome. Against Bryn's fight +0. But again, Bryn rolls a 16. 17 goes down to a 6. 17 wins the fight against the fly's roll of 8. Goes down to 16 points of damage. Still enough to kill the fly. Bryn is having his heroic moment. Truly a last stand, ladies and gentlemen. Kills another bloated fly. Oh my word, he is the hero we deserve, ladies and gents. I would take back all the negative things I've said about you, Bryn. But this zombie is just going to come in and try to fight him. See if we can't eke out an even more impressive victory. Fight +1 to Bryn's fight +0. No, unfortunately, Bryn does go down. It's a tie score, which means they've both rolled a 15, which means the zombie with a fight of +1 is going to take Bryn down. But let's see what happens on the out of action result. He rolls a 5, which is going to be a serious injury, which I suppose makes sense, being that he's about to get stomped out by an entire army. Alright, sorry about the interruption there, folks. We had a brief technical mishap, but as I said, Bryn has been laid low by a zombie. He has rolled a 5 on the out-of-action table, so that is going to be a serious injury. We're going to have to roll that up in a second, and I will let you guys know what it means for him in the wrap-up. But given that we've been taken out of action, I don't think it's fair to roll the treasure results, because clearly we've been taken out of action. We've been overrun, and that means we don't get our treasure tokens. Oh well, but technically speaking, this is a victory, because the conditions of victory were just that any of our models be left standing at the end of 12 turns, which has happened. Our civilians are safely tucked away in this side room. They are just gonna... I guess the narrative we're going to spin here is that the baddies are so busy taking our heroes captive that they've failed to notice our friendly civilians, who will then sneak out this large crack in the door, hopefully making their way back to friendly territory. But we'll cover all that in the wrap-up. Guys, this has truly been a last stand for the ages. I hope you enjoyed it. See you guys in just a sec. Alright, there we have it, folks. We've reached the end of Mission 3, the Descent into Darkness, and our heroes have been wiped off the board, all of them removed from play, but none of them suffering any deaths. The only person to roll anything less than a full recovery was Bryn, and having looked at the table, a 5 is actually not a permanent injury, it's just badly injured, which means the next time I bring him into a scenario, he starts at -5 health. That's literally all his injuries mean. So the next time I play him, he's only going to have 7 wounds instead of 12. Considering we had a total party wipe and everyone was removed, not the worst thing in the world. We did manage to save those Lorenthian civilians. Committing them to the fight might have turned the tide at some point. I kind of doubt it. So I'm feeling pretty good about just tucking them away in a back corner and then rushing them off into to try to return to Alador after the battle. So we have success. It is technically a win, but even with the total party wipe, as much as that might not have been like Plan A, it actually does lead us into a very interesting contingency plan, because the Joseph McCullough, the guy who wrote Rangers of Shadowdeep, planned for this eventuality, which means the fact that the party has been completely taken out of action is going to trigger the Incinerator mission. So that is a mission specifically meant for when there's a total party wipe, and you are meant to find out what happens when you get captured by the forces of the Shadowdeep. So our heroes will have to try to escape enemy clutches and break out of wherever they've been taken. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be our next 2 episodes in the Rangers of Shadowdeep series. I'm really looking forward to those scenarios. I have yet to play them, so I'm really looking forward to some uncharted territory with you guys. I hope you're looking forward to it too. I hope you've been enjoying the games and enjoying the campaign so far. I hope you guys have been liking the system, Rangers of Shadowdeep. If you have, by all means, do let me know in the comments. Thank you so much again for making it this far in the video. You have really helped me out. I do appreciate it. You might want to consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. We've got more videos coming up, including, like I said, those prisoner of war escape scenarios coming up in the next couple weeks. But with all that being said, I do so appreciate you guys being here. I hope to see you in the comments down below or in the next video. And in the meantime, happy wargaming.
Onward to glory!